Hey, welcome back, subscribers, to My World of Stocks, and welcome back to our budget community portfolio series for this time, the month of December 2025. Now, chapters are down below for you in case you need to skip past this intro. But for anyone new here, this is not my larger private portfolio. I was actually going to do an update for that one last month, but I ended up pushing it to later this month so that I can just put it out as essentially a 2026 update going into the new year. So keep an eye out for that. I promise I will finally have it out for you guys before the end of this month. We will definitely do that. As for this portfolio, though, this is actually my much smaller on a budget public one where I only deposit $100 each month into this new account. So it's a lot easier to follow along with, especially for beginners on a budget. And then I use that money to invest in stocks. It's all very transparent. Some of it is also influenced by you guys through various polls, comments, and messages that you send me, especially over on Discord. And then I do an update video once a month here on YouTube for you guys, separated by two parts in the same video. First, we cover how the portfolio is performing so far with all the trades that we made last month in November, which, by the way, includes a brand new stock that we just added to the portfolio. So we'll talk a little bit about that here today too. And then after that, we just follow it immediately with part two, where I will cover how each individual stock is performing so far, either up or down, and what I plan to buy in this current month here in December. Before we start, though, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you'd like to get full access to this portfolio, as well as our private community Discord, where you can reach me, you can suggest new videos, you can hang out with other members, and you even get access to my daily stock trade, where I post a new stock purchase every single day. Then you can get access to all of that and more by supporting me on Patreon. Link is in the description. We actually just started posting commercial-free videos on there too, with early access. So there's a bunch of cool perks now. And I, of course, thank everyone that does support the channel this way. I really couldn't do this without you. It means so much to me. So thank you so much for that, my friends. And lastly, just a heads up, we do use SoFi for this account, which I'm a very big fan of. It's completely free with fractional shares, no fees, and a ton of other cool features like setting up a Roth IRA. Plus, if you use my referral link down in the description, you'll even get a bonus $25 worth of stocks just for giving it a try. So I highly recommend you sign up if you haven't already and get yourself that free stock. All right, with all of that out of the way, though, let's go ahead and jump into part one now and take a look at how the portfolio is holding up so far and all the moves that we made last month in November. Okay, so taking a look at it here, November was actually a little bad for us. It's one of, I would say, like the very few months that have ever been negative for this account here. I think the only other time might have been like during the tariff craze when that all started. But despite falling about 2% during the month, the account at over $3,600 is still up a whopping 34% in total. I'm having this account for about 2 years now, which, when you exclude the nearly $400 that we have sitting in just cash that's not currently doing any work for us, well, our actual stock investments are up even more, and nearly a 40% rise in profit, which is very strong performance. And overall, I'm still very happy with how everything is going and how the portfolio continues to take shape. Now, having said that, in terms of spending, we did go just a tad bit over the budget for the second month in a row here, spending $105 during the month, as I just really saw too many great deals out there. We really have some excellent choices right now to be adding to, in my opinion, especially on REITs, real estate investment trusts. And I know I've said this a lot, but it's probably the one area that I just think the market is still heavily sleeping on. You know, a lot of other areas are up a lot, and obviously that's especially the case in a lot of tech stocks, AI stocks, stuff like that. But REITs, I just feel, are very, very undervalued right now, in my opinion. I just don't think the market realizes how beaten up REIT stocks have been during the high interest rate environment that we've gone through, and how much their dividends have now risen as a result to where they're at very, very attractive yields. And also just by how much the stock prices will have to correct back up in order to balance out those yields once rates start coming down more aggressively, or at the very least, I would say, even if rates just stop rising for a longer period of time, I still feel that REITs will be looked at as undervalued assets to be adding to, and that should send the prices rising again, which would correct the yields back down. But because we're buying now, we get to lock in those very high yields, and that's why I've been buying a lot of them. So, yeah, I just see a lot of turnaround, kind of rebound potential in a lot of REIT stocks. So I've been buying several of my favorites, which we will dive deeper into here in just a second. But as for the purchases that we made during November, we did run a few polls to get some feedback from you guys, including this one, where I asked you guys for a brand new stock to add to the portfolio. This was on Discord, and a whopping 26% of the votes went to AMD as the clear winner, even well ahead of other popular names like Apple, SoundHound, Intuit, Target, Waste Management, and more. So I added it to the portfolio, and I'm actually very happy that we did, as I would say right now, AMD stock is still down from the highs, and I think they're in great position to be an alternative option to NVIDIA GPUs over the long run in the market, but at a much lower valuation, at least market cap wise, right? NVIDIA is just the most highly valued stock in the entire market right now at, over $4 trillion, well over 4 trillion. Anyway, AMD doesn't have to be as good as NVIDIA or anywhere even near close to them, but I just think that the market is so big for what these companies offer, and it continues to grow, where companies and even governments are just scrambling to get their hands on as many of these chips as possible, where demand for NVIDIA GPUs, by the way, is like 12 to 1 right now, so it's extremely high, way much higher than supply, and AMD continues to offer alternatives. Even if they're not as strong, they are at least at much lower price points, which I think makes them compelling. Some estimates are of AMD GPUs being somewhere around half the cost, depending on which ones you're looking at, which is big savings for a lot of these giant corporations, especially in a shaky economy where you're trying to save some money. So I do think that some of these companies and organizations, especially if they can't get their hands on all of the NVIDIA GPUs, will sometimes opt for AMD chips instead, and that could be very lucrative for them. So that's kind of the little play that I see for AMD right now. Anyway, so I was happy to see that that got added to the portfolio. Moving on to the next poll, this one came from Patreon, where I posted which of our 10 best performing stocks should I buy more of, to which Google took the clear win here, being up over 100% at that time. So that's like how much we're up on it. At that time, we were up over 100% on it. And they took the clear win. I added more of that stock, and I'm happy to do so. It's one of my all-time favorite stocks. And then finally, over on YouTube, I asked you guys, which of these 4 REIT stocks should I buy more of? I'd be happy to buy any of these, but a massive 67% of the votes did go to Vici Properties as a clear winner, with Extra Space Storage at second place, only getting 18% of the votes by comparison. So I did add more Vici stock, who, by the way, in total, it was also the stock that I purchased the most heavily during the month at $45, as this is, I would say, probably my overall favorite REIT in the entire market right now. Maybe even my favorite stock just in general too. It's got an amazing cash cow business, these massive casinos and resorts that just continue to bring in enormous amounts of cash for them. It's got a mouth-watering dividend well above 6%, and even a cheap valuation too. It's cheaper than the sector, if you can believe it, despite this being one of the strongest REITs out there. So I really, really like Vici right now, and I'm buying it heavily in my personal portfolio too. Much heavier, obviously, than this budget portfolio. But yeah, I really like that one. It's my favorite among the REITs, and REITs are also my favorite. Then I spent $10 each on the following. So C3.ai, who just continues to be a falling knife for us at this point. So I'm really just kind of trying to lower our cost basis a little wherever I see possible, in hopes that it will eventually rebound, which I am optimistic for. You know, they just had earnings today as I was recording this video, and I actually liked what I saw, but I just think it's going to take a little more time until their business can really ramp up. It's more of a long-term kind of speculative play, but it's one that has been performing very badly. I'll be the first to admit it. So we'll see how it goes. But like I said, long-term, I'm still optimistic as a bit of a speculative play, smaller version of something like Palantir. Obviously not nowhere near as strong, but anyway. AMD, we added more more of them. Obviously, that was the newest addition to the portfolio. Extra Space Storage, again, probably my second favorite REIT in the entire market right now, just behind Vici, I would say. And then Federal Realty, which is the only REIT stock in the entire world that is also a dividend king. So I'm really trying to build that one up much larger as much as possible while they are still down and the dividend is high, because I think that dividend is actually very valuable. It should be much more valuable to the market at its current yield, and considering it's also a dividend king, having been grown for over 5 decades in a row. And then finally, I just spent another $5 each on the following: American Tower, another great dividend REIT with a bright future in connectivity, data usage worldwide, other things too. Google, who's always been just one of my absolute favorite tech stocks in the market, and it's currently still our largest holding, so we just added just a little more of them. And then Supermicro Computer, who had a big drop this past month, similar to C3. So I just used the opportunity to lower our cost basis a little on it too. Okay, with all of those trades out of the way though, let's jump over now to maybe the more interesting part two, where we'll take a closer look at how each of these individual holdings are performing. And I'll talk a little more about which ones among them I'll be looking to buy throughout this current month of December here too. Excuse me. Okay, so here are all of the holdings from the SoFi account, which I break down into custom charts so that it's easier to visualize. And as we can see, around half of the entire portfolio currently sits in just about 7 stocks, where we have Google still at number 1, which actually grew in percentage. I think it was like 12% a couple months ago. Now it's a very strong 15%, which I am happy about. Then we have Palantir at number 2. They actually came down a little following a small dip this past month. But then we have Amazon still sitting strong at number 3 with about 8%. We've got the fintech SoFi at 7%. My two favorite REITs in EXR and Vici at about 6 and 5% weight respectively. And then Microsoft rounds it out at another 5% too. Now, overall, the structure of the portfolio is looking pretty good to me at the moment. However, I would like to increase exposure to a few stocks that I think will be clear targets throughout December and into next year, especially. And that would, of course, include all 5 of my favorite REITs here, especially Federal Realty and Realty Income, sitting really small there, still just at around 1% of the portfolio. Would love to increase those exposures there, as well as American Tower at just 2%, and even Vici and EXR, despite them being a bit larger. I mean, they're still like, 10 percentage points away from Google at the top there. So they're not even close to threatening that top spot. And I wouldn't mind at all increasing my stake in them anyway. I think the overall portfolio would still be pretty well balanced, even with greater exposure to any of those. But then just a few others that are tiny enough to, I would say, warrant more purchases in would, of course, include AMD, given that it's our newest, practically smallest position of all. Only PayPal is sitting just lower of them, who I may consider buying more of PayPal too. But I actually was never all that into PayPal, to be honest with you guys. I do like it, but it's definitely not one of my favorite tech stocks out there. I actually only purchased that one because you guys told me to in a big poll I ran where they beat out everyone else. Again, I do like PayPal, but and I have talked about them in the past, and I've said good things about them. I included them in the poll for a reason. Like, I wouldn't mind owning PayPal, and I wouldn't mind even buying more now. But it's not like one of my favorite tech stocks out there. But let me know down below. Do you guys like PayPal? Would you like to see more of it in this portfolio? Please let me know down below. I think they're actually down like 35% so far this year, so they are going through a bit of even more of a dip. They're down even more from the highs, down massively. But yeah, are you guys buying any of that? Let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts. I don't own it in my private personal portfolio though, just in this community one. Besides that though, I've also been really wanting to buy more Meta stock, but it's a little expensive and we're still up a lot on it. But I'm hoping that we can catch a dip here to buy some more in the coming months, or else I'll have to just kind of chase it up anyway, because I really do love how strong their business is already. Huge cash cow, and they still have a lot of future potential, of course, in the future of AI and the metaverse. So I'd love to own more of them. And then I think like Duke Energy would be a great dividend energy play to be adding more of. It's one of my favorites, as well as Scott's Miracle-Gro. Maybe don't like it as much as something like Duke Energy, but that one I think is also a very solid value dividend play right now, and would definitely be interested in buying more of them. All right, with all of that in mind though, let's take a look at how each of these stocks, how much they're either up or down on these positions. and we'll see if anything looks like a clear target here to be buying more of. And so here's all of them right here. But let's go ahead and zoom in a little closer to get a better look. And we'll start first with the double-digit gainers. And here we have Palantir, who continues to be by far our best performer at close to 500% gains, really incredible, followed by SoFi at nearly 270% gains. And then we've still got Tesla, Alibaba, and Google all being up triple digits too. So just phenomenal performance all around there. Which, by the way, Google and Palantir, being our two largest holdings, and even SoFi, like our fourth holding, for them to be performing so well is definitely a great sign. Now, there are, of course, many other great stocks here too, several more at above 50% gains, including NVIDIA, while others are also still up double digits, including Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, and more. So very happy about that. Now, where things do start to get a little more interesting, though, is in the single-digit gainers and especially the negative performers, which we'll also just take a look at here in a second. But these will be much higher on my priority list to be adding to. And taking a look at them here, so I would say just a few that I can say right off the bat will be clear targets. At least from this list, I would say SMG, Scotts Miracle-Gro, AMD, and then especially Duke Energy and Realty Income, who are almost flat in performance. Now, considering that those two are still a couple of our smallest holdings positions, and we're flat on them, I mean, yeah, definitely I'm gonna be buying a lot more of them in the coming months. And the same goes for sure for these ones that are actually in the red. Now, all of these could be clear targets moving forward, but my absolute favorite among them are without a doubt going to be these four REITs right here in Federal, who's down 1%, EXR down 6%, Vici down 7%, and AMT also down 7% too. And by the way, that's not just going to be the case for the community portfolio, but I'm going to be loading the boat on those in my personal portfolio too, because not only are they negative in this portfolio, but one of the reasons why they're negative in this portfolio is because their actual stock prices, just in general, are down big right now. And like I said before, just REITs are just being heavily slept on, very undervalued, and the valuations are very cheap. The dividends are very high, and they're just perfect stocks to be buying in this kind of environment that we're in right now. So community portfolio, my personal portfolio, those are ones I can tell you right off the bat, going to be buying a lot more of in the coming months. Okay, with all of that said though, I did deposit another fresh $100 into the account for this new month, which brings our total up to now $3,700, leaving us also with close to $500 in cash and a cash ratio of around 13%. Now let me know down below, guys, if you have any thoughts or questions. I would love to hear from you. Any suggestions too, let me know. As always, you can get all of the screenshots that we looked at today, at least most of them, the important ones. They'll be posted on our Discord, including every trade. You can look through all of them. So check that out if you haven't already. Feel free to do so. But hey, again, thank you so much for stopping by, for all of your support. I really hope that you're all doing well, my friends. And I will catch you in the next one. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.